So that doesn't mean that timing is everything, but it means it's a big thing. It doesn't mean that it's, more important than why or the how that Tony's talking about, but it means that it's just as important.
So you mentioned that the trough occurs midday, just after midday. This is, I'm sure, what everybody's thinking. Where does lunch fit in, right? Because there's so much talk about, especially among the biohacking community and people who are trying to make a correlation between the performance in their job and the food they put in their body. So there's a big talk about, intermittent fasting and breaking your fast in the middle of the day and having light, smaller meals. I mean, we put so much emphasis on that, and we don't think that it could just be the time of day. But I know in your book, you do talk about the importance of a lunch break. So it's not just about what you're putting in your body physically, but also how you are feeding or not feeding your mind. So can you talk a little bit about where does lunch fit into the time of day?
Yeah, it's a great point. And I have to say that on the eating aspect of this, I don't find the research, the science well settled. I think there's a lot of contradictions out there. We can talk about that more later. And there's some interesting research, emerging research on timing and eating. But when it comes to lunch in particular, basically, here's how I look at it. If you look at the actual research on lunch and breakfast, let's say, we always say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I think that breakfast, if you look at the research, I don't think we can say that. I don't think we can say breakfast doesn't matter. I think we can say a definitive, I don't know, kind of, sort of, maybe breakfast helps, but I'm not sure for everybody. I don't know. All right, it's very, very murky. So if it were a stock, I would short your breakfast stock. Lunch, I think, gets a short shrift, because the way we can think about lunch is think about lunch as a subset of a broader category of breaks. And what the research shows on breaks in particular is powerful. It shows very clearly we should be taking more breaks, and we should be taking certain kinds of breaks. So a lunch break, okay, a lunch that's actually a break can improve performance because, in large part, because it is a break. Now, in terms of the actual food, there you're opening up a thicket where I think that, again, the research is not conclusive. In general, protein is better than carbohydrates at that time of day, especially for wakefulness and for hunger abatement. But I think it's worth taking a lunch just because we know in general that breaks, we tend to think, especially hard chargers, think that breaks are a deviation from performance, that breaks are a concession, that breaks are a sign of weakness. And that is not what the research shows. What the research shows is that breaks are part of our performance, that breaks enhance our performance. This is one area that I got completely wrong, because I was Mr. Don't Take a Break power through guy until I looked at this research. I mean, basically, I had it totally 100% wrong. My view was that amateurs take breaks, professionals don't. And that is wrong. Amateurs are the ones who don't take breaks. Professionals take breaks, and one of those breaks is lunch.
So a lot of people too associate breaks not just with lunch or taking a walk outside or having a social break, but, and I know this is a little bit of a bad word for some people, but nap. Right?
Oh boy.
Right? So we associate naps also with weakness, like, oh, it's taking a nap. We think of it as something for little kids or older people.
Exactly.
Right? So, but you do have a section in the book where you talk about not just a power nap, but the power of naps. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, this, here's the thing, like again, this is the sixth book that I've written, and this one probably changed my mind and changed the way I do things more than any other. So I was anti-nap for exactly the reasons you're saying. It's for wimps, it's for little kids, it's a sign of weakness. When I would take naps, which was rarely, I would wake up feeling like garbage. And
we all know that feeling. Yeah.
But you know why? The reason we have that feeling is that we're doing it wrong.
Right.
So here's what the research shows. Naps are there's a heck of a lot of research on naps. Some very interesting research on naps. Some of it is with, say, pilots or people in the military or people or first responders or people in these incredibly demanding jobs. But for civilians like us, there's also a line of research. And what the research shows is that naps are pretty good for us. Naps are for the hockey fans in the audience, naps are, I like to call them, Zambonis for our brain, right? So during the day, we get all of these nicks and scuffs on our mental ice a nap can come along and smooth it. But many people, including you and me, had been doing it wrong. What it turns out is that the very best naps are incredibly short, shorter than I would have imagined, between 10 and 20 minutes long. When you nap for beyond about 20 minutes, you begin to develop what's called sleep inertia. And that's that groggy, boggy feeling that we're talking about. And so you have this sleep inertia. It's like a deficit. So you have to crawl out of that deficit in order to get the benefits of it. So a nap between 10 and 20 minutes is really ideal. There is a enormous amount of research showing that a 10 to 20 minute nap is very effective. It is more effective than being sleepy, trying to power through, spacing out, going on social media, and not being alert and focused on your job.
Yeah. And you mentioned in the book too something called the nappuccino, right? Where you use coffee in order to make sure that you can sleep longer. What is that?
This is the nuclear option. This is the so basically what you do is literally, like, I did one of these this afternoon. I don't do it every afternoon, but this afternoon I actually did this. So here's what I did. I made a cup of coffee, and I then plunked some ice cubes in it because I wasn't trying to enjoy the coffee. I was just guzzled a cup of coffee. Then I set my phone alarm for 25 minutes. I put on my noise canceling headphones, and then I actually lie down on a couch. And so I can usually now fall asleep in probably 7 or 8 minutes. Today, I think I probably fell asleep in like 6 minutes. I was pretty tired. So, okay, let's say today I fell asleep in 6 minutes. All right. So I fall asleep in 6 minutes. I actually have, as I said, my noise canceling headphones on, and then my alarm goes off in 25 minutes. So if I fell asleep in 6 minutes, I slept 25, that gives me a 19-minute nap. Okay, so that's good. So I'm pushing up against the maximum, but I'm within that range. But here's the thing. It takes about 25 minutes for caffeine to get into our bloodstream. So at the moment that I'm waking up, I get hit with that extra boost of caffeine, which actually aids in the alertness. And so this is indeed the scientifically ideal nap.
So now we have this visual of you with your headphones on, lying on a couch and taking your nap. Yeah. But I can tell you right now that 90% of people listening would not be able to do that in their office, or people would think that they were crazy. So it might be difficult for people who don't have some flexibility, or who, can work from home or whatever it is. Have you seen some companies implementing like napping pods, or just sort of areas where people can do this?
Absolutely. There are several companies